Welcome to the second video in our introduction to selling on eBay, Potential Business Models. In this video, I'm going to talk further about potential business models for your eBay business. If you're brand new selling on eBay, I suggest you start selling gently, just to get the hang of it and get some experience. However, if you have sold on eBay before, following along with these videos should help you grow your business a lot quicker, and it's also helpful to know where you want that business to go, what kind of business you want to have. Let me go through some examples. I have an example here, and you can see the seller has a feedback of 21, so they obviously aren't selling very much. You could say that sellers with such a low feedback rating often, or rather I should say feedback number, because the 100% positive is good, obviously, but they haven't sold that much. Often, these are hobby sellers, or people who are just selling things that are around the house. That's where most people start with eBay. I've done that myself. For example, I have an eBay ID that I just use for personal selling. I've had it since 2000, so for over 7 years now. And it's only gotten a feedback number of 50, so I really haven't used it that much. Anyway, that's one model, and I'd say that's where a lot of people start. This example, as you can see, is in the consumer electronics department. A DVD recorder. If I click this tab, you see another DVD recorder. But here, you see it's being sold by a seller with a feedback of almost 12,000 and a very positive rating. 1.5% negative isn't that bad. You'll see, too, that they're a power seller, and sellers like this, wherever their sources may be, getting their electronics cheaply, they may buy refurbished goods, for example, or they might have other sources, which we'll cover later. They just have never-ending auctions on eBay selling all this generally second-hand hardware. Again, with eBay, you are fighting the bargain mentality of buyers. So really, you're only going to make a decent profit on eBay with a large number of transactions. And then, if you really want to move into higher margins on your sales, you're going to want to start moving your customers, the customer base you've developed on eBay, you want to move them away from eBay to your own e-commerce store, or maybe even to mail order. Some savvy eBay sellers do this, but very few do. When I've purchased things from eBay, very few sellers, if any, have actually followed up with me. They haven't really turned me into a customer. I'm a customer insofar as I've done one transaction, but for example, I recently purchased a DVD recorder from eBay very inexpensively, because, that was the idea of me going to eBay in the first place. And I haven't heard anything from that company since then. And they're a personal electronics reseller, so they sell DVD recorders, personal video recorders, hard disk recorders for the television, TVs, hi-fis, and so forth. And I certainly might be interested in that in the weeks, months, or years to come. So that fact that I haven't heard from them means they aren't going to make any more money from me unless I specifically go back to eBay and try to find them among the hundreds, if not thousands, of electronics sellers to buy from them again. So that's where most sellers fall down. And it's where, if you make the effort to follow up with your customers and actually turn your customers into proper, profitable, long-term customers, you're going to do a lot better. But again, much more on that later on. Okay, these are a couple of different models I've talked through, and another thing to bear in mind, as I keep saying, people want to bargain on eBay, but I would say another market you ought to be looking at, which is a much smaller market, but one that does exist, is people who want to find something that's hard to find. For example, very recently, I purchased a cassette deck that fits into a stereo that's part of a stacked component stereo system. Retail stores really don't sell stereo tape decks anymore because there isn't a real market there anymore. There's a tiny, tiny market, but stores don't cater to it because it isn't worth their while. But eBay is a place where a buyer like me can go to purchase things like that because there is a market there. Currently, there's no real price comparison anymore for such a niche product. Price becomes less of an issue for the seller So, for very hard to find items, you could say there's less competition and thus less price sensitivity on the buyer's behalf. Of course, that's going to be a much smaller market than selling to the people going onto eBay to find a bargain, so that's something to bear in mind as well. But obviously, you have to think about the fact that if things aren't being sold in retail outlets any longer, they're going to be hard to find. So how much of an eBay business can you grow if you can't find products to sell without a huge amount of effort? And that's something else to think about. Okay, here's another example, and this is actually becoming quite a well-known example. It's often cited as an example of an eBay business selling products that are self-created. There's the address, stores.ebay.com/John Video. This person, or the company, I believe it's a small company running this business, and actually what I'll do is I'll bring up all the auctions that they're running right now while I'm in their eBay store. So let's go to the live auctions. Here I have the live auctions, 129 items found, so that's 129 live auctions, and that doesn't include what's in his store or in his website, which I'll come to in a minute as well. Now, he generally specializes in instructional DVDs. Actually, a number of these DVDs actually focus on teaching how to use different makes of cameras. For example, here's one for a Sony DSLR A100 training videos. Okay, 170 minutes in length and highly detailed. Let's open that link and take a look. Okay, current bid, $26, very positive feedback. Volumes 1 and 2, approximately 170 minutes, and a spelling mistake. And there are samples here. Now, I wanted to show this example because rather than sourcing products, this person has created products. Obviously, this kind of product requires some highly specialized knowledge. He has a home studio and records his own professional coaching DVDs when he's in front of the camera, and also showing how to use the very specialized equipment. So that takes a lot of time, but once it's created, you can sell it again and again and again. Now, the actual retail price of this is higher in his store, but obviously, like most things on eBay, he'll sell it cheaply here. But once the product is created, and you can see that it's still selling for $26, there's a very high markup on products like DVDs, because once the product is created, the actual product duplication or replication cost is very low, maybe just $2 or $3 each, and then there's just shipping, and that's pretty much it, so it's something to think about. But it can be hit or miss selling information on eBay. I'll come to that in more depth in later videos, but it has to be something people want to learn about, and it's probably a good idea to find that out before you spend hours and hours or longer creating a product nobody wants. So bear in mind that you should determine whether there's a market there for something like this coaching product. But from all accounts and case studies I've read about this, he's found a niche for products that people really want to buy. It's very specialized and quite difficult to replicate because it requires very specialized knowledge to create these products, because you really need to go and get to know all these cameras very well. Okay, he has these auctions running on eBay, which is bringing in some income. And actually, it's worth noting if you quickly scroll through the auctions. Okay, effectively 14 hours left for this auction, and 2 bids, and 1 bid at $29, 1 bid. You can see that a lot of these have no bids, and that's always going to happen on a lot of auctions, or at least a percentage of auctions, depending on the product area, are going to have no bids. So you have to factor that into your costs. Okay, now he also has the store where he's actually selling quite higher priced products. Video stock footage, $300, $299, $299, $188, and so on. Then if we go to the website, and here are the featured products. Let's take a look at Chroma Key, which is a very specialized product for video creation. And interestingly, this is actually equipment and not a coaching DVD. As you can see, eBay is really working as a very good front end for him, bringing customers in, and then he has this store selling them equipment that now interests them because it's related to the coaching videos, but it's complementary, effectively, to the coaching videos. So you can bring in customers from eBay at a profit generally, or at the very least at cost, and then bring them into your eBay store or your own e-commerce store, such as this, where he's selling much higher priced products and potential services. I haven't actually browsed the entire site, but you can see the business model, and really, in the long term, unless you really just want to focus on eBay and sort of bite the bullet with the bargain mentality and the fact that eBay costs keep going up, what they take out of every auction keeps increasing, you can make a living on eBay, but your profits are effectively under threat just because of the way eBay works. But if you really want to build a back end, eBay just becomes a great way to bring in new customers at a profit or at cost, or a lot of customers, depending, of course, on the market. If you go for a very niche market, you aren't going to get a huge customer base, but this all depends on your market research, and we'll come to that later in this set of videos. So that's just a quick talk through, and if you aren't familiar with eBay, you can just start small to get some experience and build your business up from there. And if you dealt with eBay before, some of these business models may appeal to you. I'll talk you through more and more how to work with them, and more importantly, how to get things up and running on eBay, how to structure things, and even how to automate things. And we'll also dive into more depth on product sourcing and all the aspects of really starting and running a very profitable eBay business.